Hi, this is Thomas Donald Jacobs for Paper Boys on Thursday. The topic for this week is tips and tricks for swimming, but I haven't been to a public swimming pool in over 20 years. I don't think that I have anything useful to say to anyone on that subject. So, what I'm going to do instead is backtrack to the topic from the week before last, which is the pros and cons of the different types of testosterone. My first prescription was for Cestonon 250 and not Nebido, which um, is more commonly prescribed for transmasculine individuals at the clinic that I attend. However, it seemed to me that the Cestonon had several advantages. First off, the shot is once every 10 to 14 days, depending on the doctor's prescription, the endocrinologist's decisions and recommendations. That seemed good to me because I wanted to be able to stop it as quickly as possible, if necessary. I have an anxiety disorder that's very sensitive to hormonal imbalances, and I wasn't sure how taking testosterone would affect that. The Nebido, on the other hand, is one shot, usually every 3 months. And that's it. That's the whole dose. And once it's in you, that's what you have, for better or worse. There's no way to get it back out. So the Cestonon seemed good in that sense. Also, Cestonon can be self-injected, which is what I did because I don't have a fear of needles. And it just took a little bit of practice to learn how to draw the correct dose out of the vial and then place the shot. Nebido, on the other hand, is suspended in a much thicker liquid. The amount of fluid is, volume-wise, a lot larger. The needle that is used is also larger, and it has to be given kind of at the top of your ass. It's not, as far as I'm aware, even physically possible to self-inject Nebido. So it seemed to me that the Cestonon was more convenient in that sense. Also, Cestonon is cheaper. Even though you take the shot more often, it is, when you add it all up, less expensive than the Nebido. At least currently here in Belgium, they've been talking about lowering the cost for a couple of years now, but it hasn't yet happened. The Cestonon is also, for me, easier to obtain because it is commonly prescribed for cisgendered males who have hormonal imbalances. So my pharmacy actually stocked it. The Nebido has to be ordered in advance. Nevertheless, Cestonon had a couple of drawbacks that eventually caused me to start Nebido instead. First off, it seemed to me that the effects that I wanted were taking longer to become apparent. And certainly once I started the Nebido, I started seeing quicker changes in my body. Secondly, the Cestonon, because it has such a short cycle, the peaks and dips in my hormone levels were a lot steeper and closer together. And so when I got closer to when I had to take my shot, I would start feeling kind of bad. I would feel tired and depressed and really irritated, especially for some reason by people who don't know how to walk. They stand in the middle of the sidewalk and take up all the space, and I'm trying to get by. That suddenly became the focus of all of my ire. That's still true with the Nebido, but instead of having a day or two like that every 2 weeks, with the Nebido, it's a couple of days every 3 months. So for me, that just made it so much more appealing. So I switched, and I don't have any regrets about that, but there was a drawback to the Nebido that I had not considered, which has been a little inconvenient. because it has to be injected by a nurse or a doctor, um, that basically means that for me, I can't travel outside of Belgium 4 days of the year. There are 4 days, my shot days, I have to be in country. I am not inclined to try and arrange an appointment in a foreign country to have someone give me my testo shot. I don't want to do that in a medical system that I'm unfamiliar with or in a place where I don't speak the local language. I'm just there for a conference or to do archive research. I don't want to have to deal with that. There's also the matter of places where, you know, society it hasn't caught up with the rest of the world. Um, and I could be denied treatment. I, for example, would not arrange a visit home to Mississippi um, if my shot day fell within the time frame. I wouldn't do that because I know that I could be turned away. Um, and I also know I'd probably have to explain what this was and why I needed it. And in a place like that, I am not inclined. Um, it's frankly it's not safe. I don't feel that that's safe. So um, fuck that. If I have to stay in Belgium 4 days of the year, that's fine. This place ain't that bad. Which brings me on to something that I feel is really common, actually, in some ways in the trans masculine community, but which is not openly discussed, and that is testosterone obtained on the black market. The first testosterone that I ever actually got my hands on was a tube of Testo. So that's testosterone suspended in a kind of lotion, a bit like Testo gel. Now, I had not actually considered cream or gel when I was researching testosterone types for my transition, simply because you have to adhere to a really strict schedule, and I am not good about that. Um, as you may have noticed, since both this video and my last are not actually appearing on Thursday. So that wasn't appealing to me at all. But I got this tube of cream from a friend who had seen that I was really struggling with my dysphoria at the time, and they just wanted to help. Um, but that did not that was not going to be a solution long term. Um, First off, I had no guarantee of a steady supply. All I had was that one tube of cream, and that may have been all I ever had. That's one dose at that amount. I was not going to see any physical changes whatsoever, whether I took it all at once or used a little bit every now and again just to relieve some of my stress around my dysphoria. Also, I had no guarantee that what was in the tube was actually testosterone, and that is always an issue with medicine obtained off the black market. It may not be what you think it is. It may not have actually have been produced um, in a controlled manner of production. That was not appealing. I also knew, and this is something that everyone who takes testosterone should be aware of, that along with the side effects that you hope to have, like your voice dropping and bottom growth and whatever else you may want, there are possible side effects that you don't want, and which can be life threatening. There's an increased risk of heart disease, an increased risk of stroke, an increased risk of liver problems, and osteoporosis, as well as a blood condition that you can develop where you overproduce red blood cells, and that then has to be managed through um, regular therapeutic blood donation. Um, Without medical supervision, while you're using testosterone, regular checkups with somebody who's actually looking for those particular things, they could be occurring without your knowledge. And so that was an additional risk. And nevertheless, knowing all of that, I was still tempted. And in fact, I did almost take it. My girlfriend at the time, who is a nurse, caught me in the bathroom. And I'd opened up the tube and I was preparing to apply it. And she, being a professional, she wasn't having it. So she snatched it out of my hand and flushed it down the toilet, and that was the end of that. But I don't have any um, negative opinions about people who decide to go that route. I know some people get very judgmental about that, but um, I understand. I do understand how desperate dysphoria can make you. Um, and I also understand that I am extremely fortunate to live where I do. I have access to affordable medical care and treatment for my gender dysphoria. Um, there are a lot of people who don't. So I would say do your research before you do anything. Find out um, what you need, what's available to you, and how to get it. And, know the risks and be careful. Um, so good luck to everyone out there who's thinking about doing this. And I'll see you sometime next week. Bye.